Okay, so another deck profile from SirSlobs. After the meta-defining deck profile that was Gimmick Puppets, I'm bringing today Soulless Dark Magician. The main reason that it's soulless is because it's not running Magician's Souls. Again, these are riddled with spoilers, these deck profiles, before we've got to it. And the reason for that is that I can't justify spending £150 on 3 pieces of paper. I already spend more than I'd care to imagine on pieces of cardboard. So let's get right into it. I'm going to try and keep this below the 15-minute mark, unlike Gimmick Puppets. Firstly, 3 of the man himself, Dark Magician, and no deck profile of Dark Magicians would be right without 3 Dark Magicians. Obviously you can pick the artwork that's your favourite. These 2 are probably my favourite, the Ulti Dark Magician and obviously the Arcana artwork. And then we've got the support cards for Dark Magician himself. So we've got 3 Apprentice Illusion Magician. I know quite a lot of people cut this to 2, but I think it's just such a good play starter and an extender and stuff. So discard a card, special summon it, add a Dark Magician card from deck to hand, and then it can boost a monster by 2,000 if it's a dark spellcaster type monster. Then you've kind of got your normal summon, which is Magician's Rod, and again 3 of him. It's pretty standard at this point. Again, there's so many cards now that list Dark Magician that Magician's Rods can search. He's just it's become more and more versatile as time's gone on, really. Then we run 1 Dark Magician Girl, and that's because we're running the fusion spell that demands that we play her. She is a bit of a brick, but again, I think all in all, the trade-off's probably worth it. I mean, again, your card advantage isn't exactly something that you're clamouring for in Dark Magicians. As soon as you get your plays off, you're kind of all right. So instead of kind of like your souls, I'm running the Windwitch variant, which again, Windwitch has kind of gone hand in hand a bit with Dark Magicians. Since they've kind of since they got all the support back. Stuff like the Dark Magical Circle, which was in Dark Illusion, was it? So you got your 3 Ice Bell, which can special summon itself, and then special summon Glass Bell, which will then search the Snow Bell, and you've got 2 Wind Monsters on board, so you can special summon it, which allows you to Synchro off. It also punches a bunch of spellcasters in the graveyard, and only really conflicts with Apprentice Illusion Magician. And then finally, to round things off, we've got 3 Effect Veiler, which again, I think you could pick any hand trap you wanted. I've got these nice swanky common Effect Veilers, which are from 2 different sets, but it puts a spellcaster type monster in the graveyard, so that's pretty decent for the other cards that we're playing, which we'll get to in a bit. Spells, so we've got 3 Dark Magical Circle, which, I don't know, I think is still really good. Reveal top 3 cards, either Dark Magician or a card that lists Dark Magician. If Dark Magician is summoned, banish a card, very solid. And then something that kind of goes along hand in hand with that is Soul Servant, which is one of the new cards from Legendary Duelists, I think it is, which again, it was quite an expensive card really. Dark Magicians have always had a little bit of a price, I suppose it's the nostalgia bait. But you can place a card on top of your deck from your hand, deck or graveyard that is Dark Magician or something that lists Dark Magician, and then during your main phase, so that's in the same turn, you can banish it to draw cards equal to the number of Dark Magicians and or Dark Magician Girl, or there's some others as well that you don't run, Paladin monsters, and you can draw cards with those different names. So it means that if you've got a Dark Magician in your graveyard, you can basically just search for any card that lists Dark Magician, which is pretty flipping good. 3 Call by the Graves, again, lovely commons, very spice. You want your things to go off, especially stuff like your Magician's Rod and stuff like that. You can't afford for those not to go off. Then, so here's a bit more tech that I'm running, which is Magicalized Fusion. So this is basically a Miracle Fusion, but for spellcaster type monsters. I was running the Dark Magic Secrets, which is the Dark Magician branded fusion spell, but since we got Anaconda, Predaplant Anaconda, this is effectively searchable now, so it's just better. You dump all your resources in the grave, and that's why the Effect Veilers and the Windwitch engine works so well, because because you dump a buttload of spellcasters in the graveyard, and then you can then fuse with them when the need arises. So historically this used to be Wonder Wand, but Spellbook of Knowledge is just better. Again, you could probably throw in a Spellbook package just all in all, but it's not really needed, and I have an independent Spellbook deck and I don't want to conflict with it too much. Then a couple of one-offs for the Dark Magician stuff. So Dark Magic Attack, which is a bit of a blowout card, especially against back row decks. It doesn't come up often, but it's worth the ad anyway. And then Illusion Magic, and I've taken this out more times than I care to imagine, but it just ends up wiggling its way back in. It's just sometimes you just need to be able to search for Dark Magician using a spell trap. So summon the Rod, Illusion Magic, tribute the Rod, get 2 Dark Magicians, and sometimes that's kind of what you need. And then some a couple more of the one-offs. Got Instant Fusion, which can be used with Anaconda as a problem solver, or just as an extender. And then you've got Monster Reborn. Next, we've now actually got a trap section. So this is kind of where the magic happens, really. So Magician's Navigation in 3, which is special summon a Dark Magician from hand, and then special summon at a level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster from your deck. Obviously super solid, and it can also be used as a spell or trap negator. So yeah, I think over time I found this has been better than the alternative, which is Eternal Soul. And Eternal Soul's pretty decent, especially for the recurrence. You've just got to be a little bit careful to make sure you're trying to protect it and stuff like that. You don't want to overextend with Eternal Soul because it can leave you, well, with the board wipe. So yeah, the continuous summoning with Eternal Soul is great, but the trade-off obviously is catastrophic when it goes wrong. For the extra deck, so we've got 4 fusions, kind of the support card, which is Thousand Eyes Restrict, Supreme Arcanite Magician, which is a pretty underused card, I think. I mean, it's not easy to go to, but so it's a spellcast type synchro monster and then 1 spellcast type monster, which the Windwitch engine provides. And then when it's fusion something, you can place 2 spell counters on it, gains 1000 attack, so it becomes a 3/4 monster. Once per turn, you can remove a spell counter to either destroy a card or draw a card. So it can be useful as an extender or as a problem solver. We've got the Dark Magicians, which is Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girl and a spellcast type monster. And if a if a spell or trap card is activated, you can draw a card. And then if it's a spell or trap card, you can set it, and if it's a trap or a quick play, it can be activated this turn. If it's destroyed, then you special summon Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, which is why we're running the Dark Magician Girl. And then finally, Qunitet Magician. So that's 5 spellcast type monsters, and if it's fusion summon with 5 different spellcast type monsters, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. And it can't be tributed nor used as a fusion material, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. And it's a 4/5 body, so it's a good blowout card should you need it. Then we've got the Windwitch Synchro, which is a burn and basically stepping up, and then Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which if you use it with Snowbell, it can't be destroyed by card effects. It's a pretty hefty monster to get over, just puts a bit of pressure on board. And then we've got some XYZs, so we've got Big Eye, who's a bit of a problem solver, Dracossack, similar deal, and then Ebon Illusion Magician. So Ebon Illusion Magician is whenever a Dark Magician attacks, so a normal Dark Magician, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. So again, it's a pretty decent out to quite a lot of things. And then we've got a few Link monsters, so Linkuriboh, just in case you're 1000 Eyes Restrict fizzles and you don't want to be left with it on board. Link Spider to get rid of Dark Magician so you can special summon it back with Eternal Soul. Knightmare's Phoenix and Cerberus as problem solvers. Beat Cop from the Underworld as kind of a clearance. It can protect, but to be honest with you, it doesn't really come up. And then Predaplant, Verde, Anaconda, which is a new card and quite expensive, but it's not too bad. Especially if you're chipping out for the rest of it, it's not that bad. But what it basically does is it means that our fusion spell is now accessible at pretty much any time. It's 2 effect monsters, which, although Dark Magician is annoying in that regard, you can go to Link Spider and then go to Anaconda after it. File 40 cards. I mean, again, I think the extra deck can sometimes be an unnecessary addition for Dark Magicians, but it's always worth having the options, isn't it? So yeah, I suppose what's your soulless take on Dark Magicians? I think it does cheapen the deck quite considerably, and hopefully we get a reprint of Souls in the near future. But until then, I'll catch you on the next one.